Shalom, Israel. I am Officer Kayadwan out of I.S.U.P.K, Jamaica. I.S.U.P.K started 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. I.S.U.P.K is run by Commanding General YAHANNA, the one man with the rank and the authority to lead Israel at this time. I say, Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai Barakatam to my brothers. Yahweh Shamar Alatan Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai to my sisters. All right, so we're going to touch upon the topic of, repatriation to Africa. Our reggae and, our reggae artists, the Rasta artists here in Jamaica, sing about it all the time. Ethiopia being the motherland, we must all repatriate to Africa. But have we ever repatriated to Africa in the past? And if yes, how did it go? How did it went? You understand? Did we experience good relationship with the Africans? Did they accept us with open arms? Or were we, look upon as if we are outsiders and strangers? Right? That is the question, and we'll answer that in this, in this video. So remember to like, subscribe, share on all social media platforms, and also have a discussion with us if you disagree with anything that we say here. Yeah, feel free to put it in the comment section. You understand? And with that, we're going to jump to a debate that our captain of 13,000, you understand, Tizariak of the I.S.U.P.K had with attorney at law Malachi Zulu Shabazz, a former leader of the Black Panther Party, right? And our captain basically brought out what happened when our people, you understand, repatriated back to Africa. He brought out the whole information, see? So without further ado, we're going to jump straight into that video. You understand?
His own version of swift justice. Next slide.
Let me just start it back from where he began talking about this, this exact situation. I don't left out anything.
Give me Liberia or give me death. They said we should go back to Africa. Has that ever been done? Have we ever went back to Africa? Let's read and find out. Let's read. On the 12th of April, 1980, a band of 17 men stormed Liberia's presidential palace. Despite being only low-ranking soldiers in the army, they decided to take matters into their own hand. Now, these are Africans going against what you're going to find out are black people that went to Africa.
All right, let me give you a backdrop. So, in the 1800s, the oppressor, the Caucasian, the devil that the Bible speak of, you understand, was having an issue. He has gained all this wealth from slavery and enslaving us. And now there was debate in regard to freeing the slaves, or make them remain slaves. So one option they came up with was to, migrate black people back to Africa, to a land called Liberia. You understand? So they migrated thousands of black people or Negroes to Liberia. And this is how the situation went. The captain is going to make you know right now.
I told them I'm going to take your boy up. So now, finding the president sleeping in his bed, they killed him on the spot. After this bloody deed, the insurgents rounded up almost all the members of the cabinet, which were black people, black Americans. I'm saying black Americans on purpose. The leader of the coup was Samuel Doe, an indigenous master sergeant of the Liberian army, proclaiming himself general. He quickly implemented his own version of swift justice. Next slide. The group had ruled Liberia. Now let's talk about the black people that went to Africa, because we're supposed to go back to Africa, right? They're gonna get along and love each other, yada, yada, yada. So this group had ruled Liberia since its founding in 1847. Descendants of former slaves and free African Americans who made their way back from the U.S. to the mother African continent. They had kept a tight rein on power in the country. Back in America, they were citizens of a second category. They differed from the native Africans they found themselves among them in language, culture, and education. I'm sorry, let me slide back. President William Tolbert, the man executed by the conspirators when they entered the exit. That's just, you can go to the next slide. I'm sorry. No, second. Yeah, you go to the next slide. Thank you. Says all power in the country was concentrated in the hands of Americo-Liberians. That's what they call the black people that came to Liberia. Why wouldn't they just be called Africans? Why they got to be called America? Wouldn't that divide us? If you have some people called Africans and the other people called African Americans, don't that keep us divided? If we're the same, just call them all Africans. They're making a distinction because they are different. It says, never making up more than a small percentage of the total population of the country, they ruled over the rest of the group through the true Whig party. They controlled the government, economy, and state. Societal inequalities this system generated caused much resentment among majority population. Meaning, when they came over there, because about 12,000, that's like 12 high schools. So that should be enough. Like 12 high schools. So they should have been able to come in there, it wouldn't have been no problem. But it gave resentment. This boiled over into enormous anger culminating Samuel Doe's coup of 1980. The Native African soldiers put the top governing officials on a show trial and condemned them all to death and publicly executed all of them. In the grisly scene, these former rulers were executed. All the men who made on a show trial and condemned them all to death and publicly executed all of them. And condemned them all to death and publicly executed all of them. In the grisly scene, these former rulers were executed. All the men who met their end were of African American descent, meaning they did not kill their own people, they killed black people. Next slide. Yeah. Y'all want me to go to the water, sir? Everybody want me to go to Africa, man. Hell no. While the African Americans who immigrated to Liberia were often of the same skin as the other natives, in culture they could not be more different. The former slaves, they viewed themselves as pioneers conquering new land, bringing civilization to the natives. Because we're different, we're not the same. Much of Liberian history was marked by the conflict between the settlers and the natives. The African tribes resented the encroachment of these newcomers of their land. They often attacked the settlers, which would encourage attacks. Another issue at the play was slavery. Here's also another important part. Another issue at play was slavery. The tribes of the Windward Coast profited from the slave trade. So even though they came to Africa, that place that they went to was still selling slaves to America. That was still their business.
Yeah, so all right, what the captain is bringing out is basically that, while we were over there in Liberia, the Liberian did not like it. And they executed many of us. You understand? And not only that, many of those, Africans were still involved in the slave trade at that time in the 1800s. You understand? Remember, we let you know that, Africans were selling us in slavery to the oppressor. At that time, they were still selling, slaves. At that time. So while we went over there, they clearly know that we are not the same people, and the same malice that they had to sell us to the oppressor is what we experienced while over there. Let me continue playing the tape.
Their business. And it says, acting as middlemen in the business. This, of course, was another reason for constant conflicts with the African American settlers who, as former slaves or their descendants, wanted to eradicate it. So we've had the Go Back to Africa experiment. It was a failure. Straight failure. They failed Malcolm, they failed the Ethiopians, they failed the black people in Harlem, they failed these brothers. They failed them all. You got the next slide? America among 15 arrested during Black Lives Matter protests in Uganda. Now, again, they used George Floyd, but in Uganda, they arrested black women for peacefully protesting the death of George Floyd. And here's what the lady says. So now I'll read some of it. Several Americans among those arrested during the anti-protest in Uganda's capital. The protesters were rallying against racism and brutality in the wake of the death of George Floyd. U.S. citizen Kelsey Nielsen, 30, who lives in Kampala, told ABC News she was among 5 Americans who were arrested for Tuesday's demonstration. This is her quote. This just highlights how much more offensive globally it is to stand up for black lives and black liberation than it is to hold perpetrators of anti-black violence accountable. But she's in a quote-unquote black continent. Why would they have had an issue with her protesting the death of George Floyd when they just used it to talk about the Ethiopians and say they were George Floyd?
Right. So, you know what I mean? Basically, what the cap is letting you know that our people over there in Uganda was protesting the death of George Floyd when it was taking place, when it took place in America. The Africans didn't like the fact that we were protesting our injustice over the West, and they arrested the sister and couple others. You understand? And the captain is asking, well, if this is a so-called black country and these are Africans, our brothers, why do they have a problem with us defending, you know what I mean, our rights as black people?
Because they will take advantage of you, just like who? The so-called white man. Psalms the 83rd chapter say they are a confederate against us. That's the white man, the Arabs, the Chinese, Japanese, and look, they're all in your neighborhood. And you know why they're able to get in your neighborhood? Because you are divided. You have to find a belief system, like his leader said. Genesis to Revelation is the roadmap to our salvation. His leader said that. His leader did not mention none of them gods that he talked about. None of them at all. Next slide. Slavery. Oh, this is all about slavery. Slavery was prevalent in many Westerns. Do I want this? Can we go Akuna now? What am I talking about? Oh, give me to Akuna. All the way to Akuna, please. Oh, right. Ooh, right here. Perfect. It says Haiti is one of us. It's just not African enough. The African Union denies Haiti membership. I don't know nobody that try to be more African than the Haitians, maybe the West Indians, right, Garfield? I'm trying to be African, right? So now, the Haiti, it says, barely weeks after many cheered Haiti's scheduled acceptance as a member of the African Union, they were denied entry into the African Union. And Haiti, so that's the part that brought me out the most. Haiti is poor as hell. If that African Union, if they loved black people, would have not only brought them in the Union, but they would try to liberate them, because that would inspire them. Can you imagine you trying to join this continent? You join the continent, that might uplift you out of your poverty state. But they said he wasn't African enough. But the Brazilians was African enough, though. They did join up with the Brazilians because the Brazilian has resources. They have money. They have influence. So it makes it greater. Now,
all right, let me go back a little further back and see if I find the part about the Ethiopian. Me have an article as well to show you, you know what I mean, what happened to the Rastafari movement who went to Sashamani land, you understand, and how they were treated over there. The captain also touched on the Ethiopian, so we will make the captain, you know what I mean, talk about that first, you know what I mean. Salakia, let me find it. Let me just find the part. Hold on.
Vision. He's glorifying the so-called white man.
All right, this is it. And then me I go read my article. You understand? We brought this out already in countless classes and couple videos. What happened to the Rastafari community that fled to Sashamani land? For, you know what I mean? Because our Rasta artists them sing about, you know what I mean, Ethiopia being, you know what I mean, the promised land, right? So we'll show you what the Ethiopians think about black people.
Jews and the underdevelopment of African youth. So now this is 2022. I'm sorry, 2020. Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, who came to power primarily as the result of the Oromo protests, and I'm going to show you how they take advantage of your pain. He said, in the protest, he talked about cultural attitudes behind different communities. Relative success twice the last 2 years by comparing the development of the so-called Jews and the underdevelopment of African Americans. And this was his argument. Remember, we're supposed to trust Africa. It says, Abai argued that the so-called Jew have become prosperous and powerful Americans by forgetting their past oppression. Is that true? Did the so-called Jewish man forget about the Holocaust? Hell no. They lock up 98-year-old Germans to this day because the Holocaust means something to them. If you say something on TV about them, they lock you up. And the song All About the Benjamins, Jadakiss couldn't even say stack chips like Hebrews without it getting edited out. They edited it out because you can't say nothing about them. But he says we have to be like them. Then it says, while blacks have caused their own suffering and underdeveloped by focusing on past victimization. Now you look at the history of black people in America, we try to get along with them with marches. Not Martin Luther King had a 9-volume march. Why would he say something like that? If we're supposed to trust Africa, this is the prime minister that got into office. Keep that word, Oromo youth protest, keep that in mind. Give me the next slide, Cotton. It says 78, this is his quote, and he won a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. 70, 80 years ago in the United States, two groups of people were discriminated against. The Jews, so-called Jew, and the blacks. The so-called Jew people used to be tortured in prison, denied jobs. The black face the same fate. You know, the Germans killed the Jews, and many of those survived, fled to America. Israel didn't exist. The so-called Jew made a decision as a people. They said we were tortured, oppressed, discriminated against. If we merely continue to talk about the past, we won't go far enough. We have to have a winning vision. He's glorifying the so-called white man. So we're already in a state where the so-called white man is glorified and we're on the bottom. You want to go to a continent that is now glorifying the white man and putting you on the bottom too. You can't trust Africa at all. On the other hand, the blacks continue to sing and complain about being oppressed and tortured. So we can't talk about our pain. They killed George Floyd. Keep George Floyd in here. They killed George Floyd, Tamir.
Let me pause. So this is the Ethiopian president. He's still the president to this day. See? He's saying that, you know what I mean, there's two type of people who was oppressed in, you know what I mean, modern history. See? Talking about the fake Jews or the Jewish man and black people. Now, here is his argument that he admires the fake Jews, the Jewish man, because guess what, go on? Even though he went through the Holocaust, he rise above all nations on the earth. You understand? Because he let go of his past, which is lie. Every year a movie come out about Hitler and what they did to the Jews, or the so-called Jews, because the so-called Jewish man owned the entertainment industry. He owns everything, and he never make you forget, you know what I mean, the oppression that he went through. That is, you know what I mean, it is oppression, though even come close to the oppression that we went through, which we are the real Jews according to the Bible and history, right? But hear what this Ethiopian president did. He talked about how we love to complain and don't want to let go the fact that, you know what I mean, we went through slavery. See? Like, oh, enough black people love say, we need to let go slavery. This is what this Ethiopian man is talking about, saying that because we complain and we can't go nowhere. No, you know where that you know what I mean, that frame of mind, that thinking come from. It come from the heathens who look down upon our oppression. You know what I mean? And watch this. These are the people that our Rastafari community is telling us that we should repatriate and go and live amongst, and that Ethiopia is the promised land. But the Ethiopian president said we complain too much about our oppression. You understand? He doesn't respect us. Let me continue playing.
Right, we can't complain about that. We got to get over that. That's what he just said. We continue to sing and complain about being oppressed and tortured, saying the white did this and white did this.
Bear in mind, you know, the fake Jew, the Jewish man, complain every day about his oppression, and him up on top of the world. So why shouldn't we complain about our oppression?
Discriminate did that. To this day, blacks have not gotten anywhere. When the white man actually left us alone, we had the best part of our life. During segregation, when we was united, that's why you have HBCUs. You know why they're historical? Because once the white man bombed Black Wall Street, you don't have no more.
Right, and the problem is not our complaining is the reason why we are at the bottom of society. It's because whenever we try to separate from the oppressor and build, and we excel, we know about Black Wall Street. They bombed us to the Stone Age and bomb many other cities. Whenever we try to excel, you understand? Them bomb us, them lynch us, them beat us down, them put systematic racism in place. to keep us down as a people. So all we have is our complaining because we are not allowed to progress as a people. So this is not just lone complaining. We are being systematically held down in this evil place. You understand? But the Ethiopian president thinks we are complaining and we should, you know what I mean? Like what the white man loves say, buckle up our bootstraps and get to work. You understand? Just like oppressors. That's what oppressors think.
Where's our stores at? The vendors back here? This is how we have to start. And make sure y'all patronize every last vendor, because why do we have to do like this? Because our businesses are gone. Give me the next slide, Kai. Now, this is what I mean about trusting Africa, and where the Wakanda is.
And this is really interesting. Pay attention to this. The captain is bringing out some heavy information. Information that you don't know nothing about, Zane, but you are sold a dream by the Rastafari community and this black conscious community. You understand? A dream that Africa is our homeland, where Africa is the first land that we were enslaved in. Africa is the first land that we were enslaved in. You understand? No make them selling a dream, brethren. Listen to the captain.
It's our pipe dream. Now, at the same time that this prime minister in 2020 says that about black people and how we don't get over pain, in 1935, it says Harlem's forgotten fight to save Africa's last uncolonized nation. So just like Malcolm loved Africa, Harlem loved Africa. And in 1935, it says Harlem, New York, the summer of 1935, years before the United States or even allied Europe had entered World War II. Large crowds of African Americans are gathering around a desk, volunteering to take on a fascist Italian dictator who's soon to become Hitler's fiercest collaborator. So as poor as we are, wait, let me read that part. Black Americans have enough battles of their own. This is in the article. Have enough battles of their own to fight every day on American soil in the midst of the Great Depression and enduring Jim Crow. So at the same time in the Depression, we suffering Jim Crow. But the news has just come from Africa. We want to galvanize and go and fight for Africa. So how come we can love Africa, but Africa don't love us back? That's why you don't trust them. If you was in a relationship with a man or a woman and you give and they're not doing nothing, you're going to stop trusting him. You're going to stop trusting her. Next slide. All right, that's your will. Almost all volunteers were blocked from leaving the U.S. government, so the U.S. would not let them fight for the Ethiopians. It said threatened imprisonment, but they was willing to get locked up just to fight for the Ethiopians.
And this was a time during, you know what I mean, Selassie's reign, when Mussolini was defeating that Amite. See? And this was around the time that he fled to Britain for assistance, like the queen or the king at the time's lapdog. You understand that the Rastafari community don't want to talk about. And what to help the Ethiopians? Let the captain finish, break it down.
Has any African country been willing to get locked up to save us since we've been in America? Been about 500 years. Maybe y'all can tell me if they have or haven't. I haven't heard of it. Right? Give me the next slide. Now look at this picture. You see, this is where the Harlem people was volunteering for the Ethiopians to register for them. So the same prime minister that said, "Oh, we talking about our pain," this is them actually going to volunteer. Now look at this picture over here. It says Ethiopia is George Floyd. So at the same time, the prime.
For a second. So that picture right there show all the Ethiopians who volunteered to register to go over there and help the Ethiopians fight Mussolini. You know what I mean? Which, if it wasn't for the help of Britain, you know what I mean, Selassie would have been overrun by Mussolini. See? Remember, you know, this is the same Ethiopians today that say we complain too much. You understand? But look what they are doing now. Them say we complain too much, you know, but look what they do when they need assistance. Same like how when Selassie did need assistance to put his country on the map, he used the Rastafari community because they, you know what I mean, got brainwashed thinking that he was Christ. You know what I mean? He used them, he made that political move to come to Jamaica You understand? Give them money, you know what I mean? Or attempt to give them money. I don't 100% know if they actually receive that money. You understand? The question is still out there, right? And they basically played right into his hand. Now Ethiopian becomes, you know what I mean, the place where everybody attribute reggae music to, like I brought down in the class yesterday. See? So Ethiopia get put on the map because of us, right? But yet still Ethiopia say we complain too much when we are the ones that suffer oppression over here. But even though we complain too much, look what the Ethiopian them do.
Prime Minister is saying we can't talk about what the white man is doing to us. He uses what the white man is doing for his campaign to get in office.
Right.
This is just like the white man. When he say we act like the white man, Africans act like the white man. When they see you, they do not see you as their people. They see you as something else. They don't associate, they don't affiliate. I'll show you more. Give me the next slide, Pat. When it comes to our pain, they only see their own. On July 22nd, a section of Ethiopians held a demonstration in Addis Ababa condemning whatever that people's, Tigray People's Liberation Front, and calling on international community to understand the context of continued military operations. Tigray has experienced a conflicting pitting against the national forces since November 2020. The slogan, Ethiopia is George Floyd. So your prime minister won't let you talk about your pain, but they will use your pain to liberate themselves. And I'm supposed to trust that?
Right. And the captain is breaking it down so excellently. See, Uganda arrested Black Lives Matter, you know what I mean, protested in Uganda for protesting against the George Floyd killing. In the meanwhile, Ethiopia said we complain too much and use George Floyd as their representative to gain their liberation. You see the hypocrisy of Africa? This is what happens when you love Africa. All right, now we're going to jump to our article. You know what I mean? Because we all know the songs. We all know the songs that the Rastafari community sing about constantly. Africa, you know what I mean? Ethiopia, Garnet Silk does it a lot. Chronics does it a lot. You understand? Want you to love Ethiopia and to go back to Ethiopia. But this is a Gleaner article, and this is what the article says. Ethiopian dream and nightmare for Jamaican immigrants. Which Jamaican immigrants are they talking about? They are talking about the Jamaican immigrants who believe the songs and the Rastafari doctrine that they should go to Ethiopia because that is the motherland. So they went over there to Sashamani and they built up a whole community in Sashamani, and this is what is happening to them. You know what I mean? A number of Jamaicans who have immigrated to Ethiopia decades ago, heralding what they call a return to the motherland continent, are living a nightmare in the East African country, which many Rastafarians still wish one day to call home. You understand? The immigrants, some of whom are descendants of millions who were forcibly removed from the African continent in the centuries-long slave trade, right? In the continent's century-long slave trade. This is bringing out heavy information, you know. You understand? Because Africa had a lot to play in our slavery. Let me continue reading. Believe that land in Ethiopia would have not only restored their stolen identity, but would have seen them being welcomed with open arms. However, the country's strict citizenship requirement makes it almost impossible for immigrants to become Ethiopian citizens, and dual citizens is not allowed, right? So you can't become an Ethiopian citizen and you can't become a both dual citizen. You understand? Both Jamaican and both Ethiopian. Immigrants who fail to marry an Ethiopian female retain the citizenship of their countries of origin, and children born in such union are not considered Ethiopian. So you're basically over there living limbo. See? The nightmare is especially painful for Rastafarians who believe that Ethiopia is the Godhead and its former ruler, Emperor Haile Selassie I, as God, because Marcus Garvey prophecy, which Marcus Garvey prophecy, you know what I mean, was not even talking about Haile Selassie. You understand? The prophecy that Marcus Garvey was misquoting, not quoting properly, came from the Bible. You understand? Where it says, our king, Yahweh is a black man. You understand? Let me continue reading. Look into Africa where a black king shall be crowned. You know what I mean? But the Bible never said nothing about Africa. He shall be the Redeemer. Was swiftly followed by the ascension of Haile Selassie as Emperor of Ethiopia. You understand? The result is that many Jamaicans have been disillusioned in their efforts, and some have returned home disappointing, while others have remained. So the others that have remained, you know what I mean, is because of the Rastafarian pride. They are being mistreated over there. You understand? And they still don't want to give up on Ethiopia, even though they are being discriminated against. All right, continue reading. Sharon A. Webster told the Sunday Gleaner that many Jamaican Rastafarians have made significant development on the Sashamani land south of Addis Ababa, the country's capital. The promise of the repatriation is not tangible and is a great disappointment for many. It was a struggle to even find work, they told me. So not even work. See, I'm like how the oppressor don't want to hire you and don't want to give you a job over there in the United States. See, I'm like how ghetto youth, you know what I mean, from you have a masculine personality, you can't get a good job in this wicked place over here in Jamaica. It's the same way these, you know what I mean, Ethiopians are discriminated against the rest of them over there who believe in the Ethiopian dream, like how we, our people believe in the American dream. Continue reading. Yet there are so many who have made a difference in Sashamani. So even though our people have went to Sashamani and make such a difference, you know what I mean? My brother Abadawan brought out where, you know what I mean? We went over there and taught the Ethiopians proper hygiene, taught them football, taught them this, taught them that in Sashamani. And this is what they get. Those Jamaicans and West Indians in general who have gone there went on the promise that it was room to occupy and live as Africans, said A. Webster, a former local parliamentarian, who said issues in African countries were first raised with her in 2004 and again in 2006. So this issue was brought up, you know what I mean, almost 2 decades ago. And it is just coming out because the rest of them want to see a face and them don't want to tell you, say, yo, the Ethiopia, the heaven that them sing about is not heaven, it is hell. Let me continue reading. At the time, A. Webster said the immigrants told of their struggles to build their own schools and hotels to foster tourism and entertainment. Sashamani is described as the black version of Amish country, right? Where everything is natural and community devoid of outside influence. The occupation of the settlers was made possible by a 1948 land grant by Selassie that accommodated Caribbean people of African descent who want to settle there. Sashamani land were offered for free, and there it's all are most things Jamaican, right? So Selassie give them a piece of land, never give them no title. He never give them resource to develop the land. That is similar to, you know what I mean, the Africans today saying that, yeah man, come to Africa, bring your money and come develop Africa, because they know that black people over here have access to, you know what I mean, the US dollar and such and such. They want our labor like the white man want our labor, you know what I mean, for us to be their slaves and build up film empire to make them great, because them realize, oh, we build up this empire over here in the West and it rules the world. You understand? So that was the trick. That was the political move that Selassie made. He realized, oh, our slavery, you know what I mean, build up America, make America great. So he wanted us to come back now and build up Ethiopia. You understand? And remember, Ethiopia is well known for selling slaves. And that we need, if you understand. All right, let me continue reading. Following the fall of Selassie and subsequent political instability, and that is what the Rasta them don't want to talk about. The fall of Selassie, because Selassie fell, his own people imprison him. They don't love Selassie. And you going over there talking about Selassie's God make you even more hated because them people they don't love Selassie. Selassie was a tyrant to them. Selassie starved them, make them while they were going through famine. Selassie was living lavish and they hated him for that. And he ended up dying in prison. You understand? When we visited Shashamane in 2004, we did it as a Caribbean delegation from the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, headed by Louis Straker, then Deputy Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who as Jamaican rules, A. Webster recall. They officially welcomed us at the 12 Tribes Tabernacle with drumming and festivals. We had to do a round of table, which is a ritual requiring a dance around the table, she told the Sunday Leader. See? All right. Ethiopian honorary consul to Jamaica, Yedich Getulchu Hilton, said she lost her Ethiopian citizenship when she married a St. Andrew Western Member of Parliament, Anthony Hilton. And she was a Ethiopian. And because she married to a Jamaican, you know what I mean, an Israelite here in Jamaican, she lost her citizenship. That is how prejudiced Ethiopians are to Jamaica. So if you married an Ethiopian woman, you know what I mean, she loses her citizenship. I am an Ethiopian by birth who currently holds Jamaican citizenship by choice. By acquiring either American and Jamaican citizenship, I automatically lose my Ethiopian citizenship, she told our news team. See? The point here is that Ethiopia's constitution prohibits dual citizenship and restricts citizens to persons born in Ethiopia either to both Ethiopian parents or B to a Ethiopian mother. This law is strictly applied, she replied in response to queries. You understand? So we're now going to read the whole of the article. This Gleaner article is titled Ethiopian Dream. You know what I mean? A nightmare for Jamaicans. You know, can just, you know what I mean? Google that article. See? But let me tell you what the Bible says about these Ethiopians, these Africans. See? This is the book of Zephaniah chapter 2 and 12. Ye Ethiopians also, ye shall be slain by my sword. And that is the promise that the Most High promised these Ethiopians. You understand? We're Africans. So while you are seeking, while our people is seeking to love these Africans, thinking that we are Africans, not knowing that the Africans were the ones who sold us to the oppressor, knowing that they and us are not the same people. You understand? And up until the point of Liberia and sometime, you know what I mean, during the time of Selassie, they were also selling slaves. You understand? The Most High promised them that he will kill them with the sword. And with that, like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave your comments. Shalom.